I never believed that normal places could turn evil. I used to think horror stories needed abandoned houses, forests, or creepy basements. I was wrong. Sometimes all it takes is a place you've been to 100 times when everyone else is gone. This happened when I was 22 years old. At the time, I worked as a night security guard at a small logistics warehouse on the outskirts of town. It wasn't a dangerous job, mostly boring. I sat behind a desk, watched cameras, and made rounds every hour. The warehouse stored packaged electronics, nothing valuable enough to attract serious criminals. At least that's what I thought. My shift ran from 11:00 p.m. to 7:00 a.m. The place officially closed at 9:00 p.m., so once I clocked in, I was always alone. The nearest business was about half a mile away, and at night, the entire industrial area felt abandoned. The warehouse itself was massive. Long rows of metal shelves stretched into darkness. Motion lights flickered on only when you walked beneath them, and the hum of electricity echoed endlessly. Even during the day, it felt cold and hollow. At night, it felt wrong. Still, I needed the money. For the first 2 weeks, nothing unusual happened. I watched videos on my phone, drank coffee, and made my rounds like clockwork. Then came the third Friday night. It was about 1:17 a.m. when I noticed the first thing. Camera 6. Camera 6 monitored the rear loading dock, an area no one had access to at night. The feed flickered slightly, then stabilized. And for just a second, I thought I saw movement. I leaned closer to the screen. Nothing. Just empty concrete, metal doors, and shadows. I told myself it was just my eyes adjusting. About 10 minutes later, the motion sensor log showed movement detected at the same loading dock. That shouldn't have been possible. The loading dock sensors were only supposed to trigger if something larger than a dog moved through, and there were no animals inside the building. I radioed in to the monitoring company. Probably a glitch, the operator said. Those older sensors bug out sometimes. That explanation didn't sit right with me, but I accepted it. I grabbed my flashlight and started my routine walk. As I moved through the warehouse, the silence felt heavier than usual. My footsteps echoed too loudly. Every breath sounded amplified. When I reached the rear loading dock, everything looked normal. No open doors, no damage, no footprints. But then I noticed something that made my stomach tighten. The temperature felt colder there. Not just slightly, unnaturally cold, like standing near an open freezer. I checked the doors again, all sealed shut. I finished my round and went back to the security office. That should have been the end of it. It was. At 2:03 a.m., Camera 3 activated. Camera 3 faced aisle G, deep inside the warehouse. The feed showed the long aisle stretching into darkness. And then I saw it. At the far end of the aisle, something stepped into view. At first, I thought it was a person, but the proportions were wrong. It was tall, too tall. Its shoulders were hunched and its arms seemed long, unnaturally long. It didn't move like a normal person either. It just stood there, facing the camera. I froze. My heart started pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I whispered to myself, "What the hell is that?" The figure didn't move. The motion sensor alert stayed active, but there was no walking animation, no shifting weight. It was just present. Then slowly, the figure tilted its head. Not sideways, straight down, like its neck bent forward at an impossible angle. That's when the camera feed cut to static. Every monitor flickered at once. I jumped out of my chair. The power indicator stayed green. The lights were still on. Just the cameras. They came back online one by one. Camera 3 showed an empty aisle. I didn't make another round that night. I locked the office door and stayed inside until morning. I told myself it was stress, sleep deprivation, shadows playing tricks on my mind. I didn't quit. I wish I had. The next night was worse. At 12:42 a.m. I heard something. Not from the cameras, from the warehouse itself. A sound like metal being dragged slowly across concrete. It came from deep inside the building. I muted the office fan and listened. The sound stopped. Then I heard it again. Closer. Pause. Like something heavy being pulled along the floor. I checked the cameras. Nothing. Every aisle looked empty. But the sound continued. I grabbed my flashlight with shaking hands and stepped into the warehouse. The lights flickered on above me one by one as I walked. The dragging sound echoed through the aisles, impossible to pinpoint. Then suddenly it stopped. I stood there, heart racing. That's when I felt it. Breathing. Right behind me. Slow, deep, wet. I turned around and flashed my light. Nothing. But the air felt wrong, thick, like I was standing too close to something alive. I backed away slowly, never turning my back again. When I reached the office, I locked the door and didn't leave. At 3:11 a.m. someone knocked. 3 slow knocks. On the office door. I stared at it in disbelief. No one was allowed inside the building at night. I didn't respond. The knocking came again, this time louder. Then a voice spoke. It sounded wrong. Not deep, not high. Flat, hollow. Open the door. I didn't move. My body felt frozen. The voice tried again. I know you're in there. I backed away from the door. The voice continued, calm and patient. You've been watching me. I felt tears sting my eyes. How do you know that? I whispered. Silence. Then a soft laugh. A laugh that didn't sound human. The door handle slowly turned. But the lock held. After a moment, the handle stopped moving. Footsteps retreated. Heavy, dragging. I stayed in that office until sunrise, holding my flashlight like a weapon. The next morning, I told my supervisor everything. He laughed. Said night shift messes with your head. Said if I couldn't handle it, I should quit. I needed the money. So I came back. That was my mistake. Because the third night, it didn't knock. It came inside. I didn't sleep after that second night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard the knocking again. I heard the voice saying it knew I'd been watching it. By morning, my nerves were completely shot, but exhaustion eventually dragged me into a shallow, dreamless sleep. When I woke up that evening, my phone showed 3 missed calls from the warehouse office. I stared at the screen for a long time before calling back. My supervisor sounded annoyed. He said I'd forgotten to submit a routine incident report for the camera outage. He reminded me, again, that equipment malfunctions weren't excuses to abandon patrols. I wanted to quit right then. But fear doesn't always look like running away. Sometimes it looks like convincing yourself you can endure one more night. So I went back. That third night, the air felt different the moment I stepped inside the building. Not colder, not warmer, just heavier, like the warehouse was holding its breath. I locked the office door behind me and checked the cameras. All feeds were clear. No motion alerts. No flickering. For the first 2 hours, nothing happened. I almost started to relax. At 1:06 a.m., camera 6 activated again. Rear loading dock. The feed didn't flicker this time. The image was perfectly clear. and standing directly beneath the dock light was the figure. There was no mistaking it now. It was not human. It stood at least 7 feet tall, its limbs too long and too thin, as if someone had stretched a person until their joints barely held together. Its head was tilted slightly, not in curiosity, but like it couldn't quite hold itself upright. Its skin, or whatever passed for skin, looked pale and smooth, reflecting the harsh white dock light. And it was smiling. Not a wide smile, a narrow one, like it was trying to imitate the idea of happiness without understanding it. I couldn't look away. The motion alert stayed active, but the figure didn't move. Then slowly its head turned. Not toward the camera, toward the office, toward me. At that exact moment, the office lights flickered. I heard footsteps outside the door. Slow, heavy, dragging. I jumped up and pressed my back against the far wall. The footsteps stopped right outside. No knocking this time. No voice. Just silence. Then the door handle moved. Slowly, deliberately. The lock rattled violently, as if something far stronger than a human hand was testing it. I screamed for it to stop. The handle froze. For a few seconds, nothing happened. Then the handle turned again. Harder. The door shook in its frame. I grabbed my phone and called the monitoring company, shouting into the receiver. No answer. The office lights went out. The only illumination came from the security monitors. Camera 6 showed the loading dock empty. The figure was gone. The handle stopped moving. I stood there in complete darkness, barely breathing. After what felt like an hour, but was probably only minutes, the emergency lights flickered on. I unlocked the office door and ran. I didn't care about protocol. I didn't care about my job. I sprinted through the warehouse toward the front exit. Halfway there, the lights ahead of me turned off. Behind me, the lights turned off too. I was trapped in darkness. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Running. Not dragging anymore. Running. Toward me. I turned and shined my flashlight. The beam caught it mid-stride. Its limbs bent in ways that shouldn't exist. Its head bobbed unnaturally as it moved. Its smile stretched wider with every step. It was fast. Too fast. I ran. I've never run like that in my life. Shelves blurred past me, my lungs burned. My heart felt like it would explode. I could hear it behind me. Its breathing was loud now, excited. I reached the front doors and slammed into them. Locked. Of course they were locked. I fumbled for my keys. The sound behind me stopped. I didn't turn around. I forced the key into the lock, my hands shaking so badly I dropped them twice. Something brushed the back of my neck. Not a hand. More like fingers. Too many fingers. Cold. I screamed and threw myself forward. The door flew open, and I fell onto the concrete outside. I didn't stop running until I reached my car. I drove straight to the police station. They listened. They checked the warehouse. They found nothing. No signs of forced entry. No damage. No footprints. No security footage of anything unusual. Camera 6, they said, never recorded a figure. Just an empty loading dock. I quit the next day. The warehouse shut down 6 months later. Officially, it was due to financial issues. Unofficially, rumors spread. Night workers quitting without notice. Equipment destroyed without explanation. Security alarms triggered by nothing. The building was eventually demolished. I thought it was over. I was wrong. Last week, 10 years later, I got a call from an unknown number. When I answered, there was silence. Then a familiar, hollow voice spoke. "You stopped watching." The line went dead. That night, my bedroom camera turned on by itself. And on the screen, something stood in the corner, smiling